If you've ever walked through a forest after a good rain, you know that earthy scent, the unmistakable richness of healthy living soil. It feels spongy underfoot, crumbles effortlessly in your hand, and supports towering trees without the need for fertilizer. But what if I told you the secret to that forest floor vitality isn't a complicated compost pile or expensive soil mix, but simply how the leaves fall and where they go? Most gardeners rake and toss their leaves, or at best shred them into mulch. But there's an ancient method that does something far more powerful. It's a practice rooted in indigenous land management and echoed across centuries by peasant farmers and natural ecosystems alike. The burial of leaves beneath the soil line, not burned, not bagged, not just piled, buried. In this guide, we'll explore why this forgotten technique works so well, how it turns lifeless dirt into thriving humus, and how you can apply it to your raised beds or in-ground gardens, even if you're starting with hard, compacted soil. Stick around, because once you learn what happens underground when you bury leaves, you'll never toss another bag to the curb again. Why leaves hold more power than you think? We tend to view leaves as seasonal litter. They fall, dry out, and clutter up our lawns. But to the soil, leaves are nutrient-packed bundles of potential. They contain carbon, lignin, trace minerals, and the exact chemistry that fungi love to break down. When left on the surface, leaves decompose very slowly. Wind dries them out, sunlight bleaches their nutrients, and air exposure makes them brittle. Even as mulch, they often mat and block water. But when buried just below the soil's surface, a transformation begins. Moisture is retained, temperature stays stable. Fungi, particularly saprophytic decomposers, move in and begin to digest the fibrous material. As they work, they excrete glomalin and other compounds that glue soil particles together, creating soft, crumbling structure. This process unlocks minerals that were locked in leaf tissue and builds humus, true, living humus. The ancient practice layering leaves like the forest floor. Indigenous and forest-based cultures understood this long before soil microbiology had a name. Some Native American farming groups, African forest gardeners, and early European settlers would dig shallow trenches or planting holes and line them with leaves. In tropical regions, buried leaves cooled the soil and kept moisture locked in through dry seasons. In colder climates, they insulated winter beds and jump-started spring thaw. The buried leaf method didn't just recycle nutrients, it actually created these fungal corridors that allowed crops to thrive without tilling or fertilizers. It was really low effort, zero cost, and, it left soil better each year. Modern gardeners have kind of drifted away from this. We've become so focused on compost bins and mulch tops that, honestly, we've forgotten how forest soil was built in the first place. But when you replicate this leaf layering technique, even in a small raised bed, the effects are, well, dramatic. How to bury leaves for maximum soil revival. So, to begin, select a bed or patch of ground that feels dry, compacted, or low in life. You don't need to dig deep, just remove the top 4 to 6 inches of soil. Gather whole or lightly shredded leaves. Oak, maple, fruit tree, and mulberry leaves all work beautifully. So, you definitely want to avoid using black walnut or eucalyptus leaves unless they've been composted first, since these can actually inhibit plant growth. Next, go ahead and lay down a 1 to 2 inch layer of leaves, and if they're a bit on the crispy side, just moisten them slightly. Now, add a sprinkle of aged compost worm castings, or even just some garden soil. This helps introduce microbial life. Then, cover the leaves with the soil you removed earlier. Gently press it down, not too firm, and make sure to water the area thoroughly. What happens next is quiet, but honestly, it's pretty powerful. Over the coming days, fungal threads will start to colonize that buried layer. The organic matter begins to soften. Worms will tunnel in. The soil starts to change from within. No turning, no flipping, no stirring needed. Within just a few weeks, the structure really starts to shift. Where it used to be dry and dusty, now it holds water almost like a sponge. Roots are able to grow deeper, and microbes start multiplying like crazy. The buried leaves begin their transformation into humus, a dark, rich, biologically active form of organic matter that honestly, no bagged compost can truly replicate. So, where should you use this method? And why is it so versatile? Well, this leaf burial technique works especially well in raised beds that have slumped, dried out, or just lost their productivity over time. It also does a great job revitalizing in-ground beds that have suffered from over-tilling or heavy rain. Looking to build new soil in a low-input way? Try alternating layers of leaves and green waste in a sort of trench pattern, and then plant right into it about a month later. This method actually doubles as composting in place, but with a lot less odor and honestly no pile maintenance to worry about. You know, even container gardeners can use this trick. It's pretty simple, really. Just layer a handful of soaked leaves below your potting mix before planting. This little step improves drainage, holds moisture, and creates a fungal zone that nurtures roots as they grow. It's like giving your plants a cozy little home right from the start. Why humus from buried leaves is different. Compost is great, but honestly it's fast. It breaks down in weeks or months, driven mostly by bacteria. Buried leaves, by contrast, create fungal-dominant soil, the kind forests are made of. Fungi work slower, but they build deeper relationships with plants. Their decomposition results in more stable humus, better soil aggregates, and a longer-lasting nutrient reservoir. Plants grown in this kind of soil are often more drought-resistant, pest-tolerant, and nutrient-efficient. Leaf-based humus improves cation exchange capacity and soil pH buffering, meaning your fertilizers go further and your plants take up more of what they need. Final thoughts: nature knows best. Sometimes the best gardening methods aren't new, they're just forgotten. Buried leaf layering isn't flashy. It doesn't require gear, gadgets, or viral hacks. But it works. It's how forests fertilize themselves. It's how indigenous farmers created fertile zones without tillers or top dressings. And it's how you can revive tired beds without spending a cent. So before you throw away those bags of leaves, or before you struggle with another flat, dry garden bed, try this quiet, ancient method. Bury the leaves. Trust the fungi. Watch your soil come back to life. If this guide inspired you, share it with someone who's still raking their leaves to the curb. And be sure to subscribe to Hydro Haven for more regenerative soil wisdom that reconnects us with the way nature truly grows.